The first white rose struck the pavement at 9:17 on a rain-dark Thursday night. The second rolled beneath a delivery van. By the time Iris Monroe reached the front doors of her flower shop, her landlord was throwing entire armfuls of her inventory into the street. Roses, orchids, delphiniums, gardenias, flowers she had risen before dawn to select. Flowers already promised to brides, grieving families, frightened husbands, and daughters who did not know how to apologize to their mothers without placing something beautiful between them. They landed in the gutter beneath Philadelphia's elevated train tracks, their petals beaten flat by August rain. Stop. The train thundered overhead and swallowed her voice. Martin Hale turned from the doorway of Monroe Floral with a galvanized bucket in his hands. Water streamed from his thinning gray hair and the shoulders of his expensive raincoat. The bucket held 30 long-stemmed red roses prepared for a wedding anniversary. He tipped them onto the sidewalk. Iris lunged and caught half the bundle against her chest. Thorns tore through her blouse and scored her forearm, but she held on. Martin looked at her without apology. You were notified. You gave me 48 hours. I gave you an opportunity to accept the new lease. You tripled the rent. The neighborhood changed. No, you found a developer. Behind him, 2 private security guards stood inside Franklin Glass Market. Neither would meet her eyes. The market had occupied the same block for more than a century. A long iron and glass structure wedged beneath the tracks in North Philadelphia. At night, vendor lights glowed through its rain-streaked panes, like lanterns inside a cathedral. Iris had lived in the apartment above her shop for 6 years. She had built Monroe Floral from a folding table, 3 borrowed vases, and the stubborn belief that small businesses could become homes. Now her sign had been ripped down. Her furniture sat beneath a plastic tarp at the curb. You can't evict someone overnight, she said. I can remove a tenant who violated the commercial terms of her lease. That isn't what my lease says. It is now. He reached for the roses. Iris turned, shielding them with her body. Move. No. His expression hardened. You are standing on private property. I live here. Not anymore. Another train approached, its metal scream gathering above them. Martin seized the bucket and pulled. Iris tightened her grip. Stems snapped between them. Then 4 black SUVs turned the corner in perfect formation. Their headlights cut through the rain. Vendors watching from beneath awnings went still. Martin released the bucket. The rear door of the second SUV opened. A man stepped into the street, wearing a black suit beneath a long charcoal coat. He carried no umbrella and showed no weapon. Rain silvered his dark hair and sharpened the hard planes of his face. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and so composed that every frantic movement around him seemed childish. I can call a rideshare, behind him. Then 2 more. Fear moved through the market before Iris understood its source. One vendor lowered his security gate. Another crossed himself. Martin's face lost its color. The stranger looked first at Iris. Not at Martin, not at the guards, at Iris, standing in the rain with broken roses against her chest and blood beginning to bead along her arm. Mr. Saint, Martin said. The stranger did not answer. Everyone in Philadelphia knew the name Julian Saint. He owned restaurants where politicians waited months for tables, warehouses along the river, security firms with government contracts, and enough parking structures to make half the city pay him by the hour. He also controlled the Saint organization, though newspapers printed that sentence only when their lawyers were feeling brave. People said Julian had taken command at 29 after 3 older men disappeared in the same week. People said he never raised his voice. People said men begged harder when he spoke softly. He crossed the street, his shoes crushing loose petals into the rainwater, and stopped beside Iris. Did he do this? He asked. His voice was quiet. The question was for her. He's evicting me. Tonight? He says I violated a lease he changed yesterday. Julian looked at Martin. Is that accurate? There are complexities you aren't aware of. Then simplify them. Martin swallowed. The market has been underperforming. Julian glanced through the glass wall at the crowded stalls. It appears occupied. Crowds don't always translate to revenue. And destroying inventory improves it? Martin's gaze flicked toward Julian's men. He found no help there. This tenant became aggressive. You threw my flowers into traffic, Iris said. Julian studied the roses in her arms. What was the last order you completed inside? The question came so unexpectedly that Iris almost missed it. A funeral arrangement, no name, only initials. Which initials? ES. Something changed in his face, not surprise. Recognition. One of his men placed a hand inside his coat. Where is it? Julian asked. Martin threw it outside before I arrived. Show me. They found the remains near the mouth of the alley. White hellebore, black tulips, pale lilac, yew, rosemary, and deep red anemones, most crushed beneath a vehicle. Julian crouched beside her. You made this? I assembled it from a refrigerated delivery after closing. Those flowers shouldn't be available together. I know. I didn't order them. Someone prepaid $5,000 and instructed me to arrange every stem exactly as delivered. Did you touch the card? With gloves. Did you read it? There were no words. She found the cream-colored card beneath a broken tulip. Rain had bled the ink into blue shadows. It wasn't blank, she said. 3 stems were reversed. 2 were cut at exact lengths. The anemones were grouped 4, 1, then 3. Whoever selected them used the arrangement as a code. Martin backed toward the market doors. Julian turned his head. Stay. Martin froze. Every light inside Franklin Glass Market went out. A second later, glass shattered in the darkness. Julian caught Iris around the waist and dragged her behind a stone support column. A bullet struck the pavement where she had been kneeling, scattering petals into the air. His men drew weapons. Commands cut through the rain. Another shot cracked from inside the market, followed by tires screaming in the alley. Iris's cheek pressed against Julian's chest. His heartbeat was steady, terrifyingly steady. When the silence returned, she realized her hands were gripping his coat. Are you hurt? He asked. I don't think so. His gaze dropped to the blood on her wrist. The calm in his eyes thinned enough for her to glimpse what lived beneath it. Whoever placed that order expected you to be dead before you understood it. Martin ran. He made it 3 steps before Julian's men caught him. I didn't know about the shooter, Martin gasped. I swear. Julian removed his phone. What are you doing? Iris asked. Buying the building. Martin stopped struggling. You can't. Julian placed the call. Watch me. 27 minutes later, the holding company that owned Franklin Glass Market accepted an all-cash offer at twice its estimated value. By midnight, Julian controlled every storefront, apartment, service corridor, and surveillance camera in the building. By 12:05, Martin Hale was no longer Iris's landlord. By 12:06, he was locked inside the market office. And by 12:10, Iris understood that Julian had not bought the building simply to save her shop. He had bought it because the ruined bouquet might contain the names of people someone intended to kill. Julian's men sealed the market. Vendors left through the rear entrance under guard. Martin's security officers were disarmed. No police arrived, and Iris suspected Julian had made certain they would not. Emergency lights cast red bands across the glass ceiling. Her shop looked as if a storm had broken inside it. Shelves were overturned, vases shattered, and the cash drawer stood open with every bill still inside. Whoever entered had wanted the flowers or the card. Julian stood at her work table with Luca Ferris, his head of security. Luca had the compact, watchful build of a man who expected violence to come through any door. All market cameras died at 9:16, Luca said. Street cameras, 40 seconds later. The logs were erased. Recover them. We're trying. Julian looked toward Iris. She was washing blood from her arm in the utility sink. Get a doctor. I don't need one. He seemed unused to disagreement. You were thrown onto concrete. You threw me onto concrete. I prevented a bullet from entering your spine. And I'm grateful. I still don't need a doctor. Luca lowered his gaze, hiding what might have been amusement. Julian approached and reached for her wrist. Iris pulled back. His hand stopped in the air. Then he asked, "May I see it?" The question surprised her more than the command would have. She offered her arm. His fingers closed carefully around her wrist. He examined the scratches and swelling near her palm, then retrieved tweezers and antiseptic from the wall cabinet. "You've been in my shop before," she said. "No. You knew where I keep the first aid supplies. I saw the cabinet when we entered." Most people would have opened 3 drawers first. I'm not most people. Most people don't buy commercial buildings in the middle of the night. Most people couldn't. He removed a sliver of glass with precise, almost clinical care. His thumb rested over her pulse. He could feel how fast it was beating. "You knew the initials," she said. "E.S." His hand paused. "I saw your face. Tell me why someone shot at me. I will tell you what you need to know." That's the sentence powerful men use when they plan to lie. His eyes lifted to hers. Another train passed, trembling through the iron frame. "E.S. stands for Evelyn Saint," he said. "Your wife?" "My mother." Iris remembered an old photograph of Evelyn leaving a courthouse in a white coat, surrounded by reporters. She had run charitable kitchens and legal clinics until her car exploded on a bridge 17 years ago. The official story blamed a rival family. Why would someone send funeral flowers for her now? Because my mother used flowers to send messages. Floriography? Leverage. Flowers were less likely to be intercepted than documents. Iris looked at the wrecked bouquet. "And you've seen this code before. Pieces of it. What does it say?" "That depends on whether you can rebuild it." Every sensible part of her wanted to leave, call a lawyer, and find a hotel beyond Julian Saint's reach. But someone had fired at her. Her cameras had been erased. Her flowers had been chosen using the language of a dead woman. Fear moved through her, cold and deliberate. Beneath it rose anger. She pulled on fresh gloves. "Bring me every stem you recovered." For the next 2 hours, Iris separated the damaged flowers by species, length, and condition. The bouquet contained 13 hellebores, 8 black tulips, 21 anemones, 5 branches of lilac, 7 sprigs of rosemary, and 3 pieces of yew. "None of these belong together in August," she said. "Hellebores bloom in winter, tulips in spring, lilacs later." She lifted a black tulip and showed Julian the cut end. Wax. The stems were sealed and stored cold. Someone planned this weeks ago. The placement diagram used numbers: 13 degrees left, 8 inches high, 21 inches across. "Coordinates?" Julian asked. "Maybe. A date, a substitution key, train routes. The meanings matter too. Rosemary is remembrance. Yew is death or immortality. Hellebore can mean scandal. Anemone means forsaken love or anticipation. Black tulips suggest power and sacrifice. Lilac can mean first love or memory." Julian's jaw tightened. "What?" "My mother's first shop stood in this market." Iris stopped. "Where?" He pointed toward the northern wall. Her wall. Her exposed brick, old floor drain, and iron hooks above the work table. This was her shop? Before I was born. "Why didn't you tell me? I did not know who leased it until tonight. You've bought flowers from me." His eyes narrowed. "How do you know?" Iris crossed to her order files and opened a binder. "Every Friday for almost 4 years. 12 white garden roses, no filler, no ribbon, delivered to Laurel Hill Cemetery. The account uses JS." Julian looked at the page. "Yes. You send them to your mother?" "Yes." "And you never came inside?" I had people collect them. Why? His gaze moved through the shop. Because this place belonged to her before it belonged to you. Iris remembered the exacting instructions. The roses had to be open enough to show their centers, but not beginning to fall. The anonymous customer had never complained, never missed a payment, and always tipped more than the order cost. You knew my work, she said. I knew the flowers. That isn't the same thing. His eyes met hers. No, it isn't. The air changed. Then Luca entered through the rear door. We found a relay beneath the office floor. It was wired into the cameras. The serial number traces to Martin Hale. He bought it 6 months ago. Julian's face became unreadable. Bring him. Martin arrived with his hands bound, his shirt damp with sweat. Julian set a black tulip on the table. Who gave you the flowers? I don't know. Your development company received $6 million from an offshore account yesterday. Martin's breathing changed. It was an investment. In property you did not own? Martin looked at Iris with panic and resentment. You don't understand what you've brought here. I didn't bring anyone. You completed the arrangement. You delivered it. I was told to make sure you followed the diagram. By whom? Julian placed his palm flat on the work table. The gesture was almost gentle. A man fired into a public street tonight. If another person is harmed because you protect his name, your fear of him will become the least important problem in your life. Martin stared at Julian. He called himself Mr. Vale. Luca's expression hardened. Who is that? Iris asked. Not a real name, Julian said. Martin rushed on. He wanted the tenants out before midnight tomorrow. The city was supposed to condemn the market after a structural inspection. He said your people would come looking for something beneath the building. Julian seized Martin by the shirt and pulled him close. It was the first sudden movement Iris had seen from him. What beneath the building? I don't know. I was paid to empty it, not ask questions. Julian released him. Iris saw the faint tremor in his hand before he closed it into a fist. Mr. Vale is Anton Saint, he said. The name meant nothing to Iris. Luca crossed himself. My uncle, Julian continued. Why use another name? He looked at the flowers. Because Anton died 8 years ago. Rain tapped the roof. Iris studied the man who had watched his mother's killer return through a bouquet. You don't believe he died? I watched his car burn. That isn't what I asked. Julian's gaze found hers. No, I don't believe it anymore. At 4 a.m, the arrangement revealed its first secret. The lengths of the rosemary stems matched old brass numbers embedded in the market floor. Franklin glass had once been divided into numbered merchant bays. Most markers disappeared during renovations, but several remained beneath newer tile. The sequence led to Bay 13, Monroe Floral. Beneath the floor drain, Luca found an iron box set into the foundation. It was empty. Inside the lid, someone had carved the outline of an iris. My mother marked safe locations with flowers, Julian said. What did an iris mean? Faith, hope, a message carried across distance. Iris touched the carved petals. My mother named me after them. Julian looked at her as if coincidence had offended his understanding of the world. What was her name? Grace Monroe. He made a call. When he ended it, his face had changed. Your mother worked for Evelyn. Iris laughed once, without humor. No, she was a hospital receptionist. After she left Philadelphia. Before that, she managed deliveries from this shop for 14 months. She never lived here. She did. Iris stepped back. Grace had died when Iris was 19, never discussing the years before her daughter's birth. She would have told me. People involved with my family often kept secrets to protect their children. You don't know anything about her. I know she was expected to testify before a grand jury 3 days after my mother was killed. She never arrived. The room seemed to tilt. My mother did not disappear. She raised me in Ohio, under another name. Before Iris could answer, an explosion shook the eastern wall. Glass erupted inward. Julian reached her before the first shard struck the floor. He drove her behind a stone counter and covered her head as glass rained across his back. Gunfire followed from the street. Luca and the others returned fire while a train roared over the market, turning the building into flashes of light, breaking glass and metal thunder. Julian pressed Iris to the floor. "Stay down. You're bleeding." A line of blood ran along his jaw. "It isn't mine." A gunman appeared behind the shattered wall. Julian fired once, then pulled Iris tighter against him. When the shooting ended, the market smelled of wet concrete and scorched metal. Julian lifted his head. "Look at me. Are you hit?" "No." His hands moved over her hair, shoulders and waist, checking for blood. The touch was urgent now, possessive. His control had split enough for her to see fear inside it. Not fear for himself. Fear for her. "I'm all right," she whispered. His hand stopped at the curve of her waist. Their faces were inches apart. Rain blew through the broken wall. A strand of her hair clung to his cheek. His gaze dropped to her mouth. Then he closed his eyes and pulled away. Luca approached. 3 shooters, 2 escaped, 1 is dead. Julian rose and offered Iris his hand. As he pulled her up, she saw blood spreading across the back of his coat. "You are hurt." Superficial. That's the sentence stubborn men use when they need stitches. Something almost human touched his expression. "Did you make a joke?" "No." "Good. I would hate to think the bullet damaged your judgment." She led him to the stool where he had treated her. When she reached for his coat, he caught her wrist. "Iris, you have glass in your back. Your doctor isn't here." His gaze held hers. She felt the question inside his silence. "May I trust you?" she answered, by lifting the coat from his shoulders. His shirt was torn near his left shoulder blade. Scars crossed his back. Thin lines, burn marks, an old bullet wound near his ribs. Evidence of a life built around surviving people who wanted him dead. "You can stop staring," he said. "I'm deciding whether you're capable of feeling pain." "I am." "You hide it well." "So do you." She cleaned the cuts. He did not flinch until she removed the deepest shard. "You can threaten a landlord without blinking, but antiseptic is where you draw the line?" The landlord was less irritating. She smiled despite herself. Julian watched the smile fade. "I have never seen you do that." "You've never seen me at all." "I have. The delivery driver sent confirmation photographs every Friday. You appeared in some of them." Iris tied the bandage across his shoulder. "That sounds like surveillance. Quality control." "Do you quality control all your florists?" "No." The answer came too quickly. "How many photographs?" "Enough." A chill moved through her that was not entirely fear. "You knew what I looked like." "Yes." "Then why stay away?" His voice lowered. "The first time I saw you, you were standing beside 12 white roses with sunlight across your face. You looked peaceful. I did not want my life near yours." Iris looked at the wreckage around them. "Yet your life came through my window with rifles." "Yes. And you bought my building. The eviction was unlawful. You could have hired a lawyer. He threw your work into the street." "So you bought a block of Philadelphia?" "Only the building." Despite everything, she almost laughed again. Julian turned to face her. "You should be afraid of me." "I am." His expression darkened. "Not for the reason you want," she said. "I'm afraid you believe protecting someone gives you the right to control them. I can keep you alive. That isn't the same as owning my decisions. No. Do you understand that?" He considered her with a seriousness that unsettled her. "I am attempting to." By morning, a video of Martin throwing her flowers had reached every television station in Philadelphia. It showed Julian arriving beneath the tracks, his coat moving in the rain like a black flag. It did not show the first bullet. Online accounts invented the rest. Some accounts called Iris brave. Others called her Julian's mistress. One gossip page mocked her body and published photographs of the apartment entrance above her shop. Julian had the page removed within 11 minutes. Iris found him in the market office studying the false condemnation order. You threatened someone because he insulted me. He published your address. Her anger faltered. The shooters did not know your apartment before that post. You will stay somewhere secure. No. Then choose a hotel. I will secure the floor. I'm staying here. The market has a broken exterior wall. It's my home. It is now a crime scene. According to which police report? You didn't call them. His gaze sharpened. There are officers I trust. Meaning officers you own. Meaning officers Anton has not purchased. He moved toward the window. My father was the public face of the Saint organization. Anton was the mind behind it. When my father died, Anton took control. And you replaced him? Yes. How? Violently. No pride, no apology. Anton ordered my mother's death, he continued. She kept records of every judge, detective, accountant, and city official he controlled. She also kept the names of people she helped escape from him, witnesses, informants. Women fleeing men inside the organization. Children whose fathers intended to use them as leverage. Iris thought of the empty box beneath her shop. The ledger. Yes, your mother may have moved it. Grace was not the name she was born with, was it? No. A locked box beneath her mother's bed returned to Iris. An old hospital badge, the initials GD, inside a winter coat. Delaney, she said. Julian nodded. Grace Delaney. Iris sat. He did not touch her. That restraint affected her more than comfort might have. My mother lied to me her whole life. She kept you alive. Don't make those sound like the same thing. They often are in my world. This isn't your world. It became my world when someone fired at you. No, it became my danger. That doesn't make it your property. His jaw tightened. I am not calling you property. You bought my building and ordered me to move into your house. I bought it because Anton intended to demolish it and recover the ledger. You also needed control of the crime scene. And me. His silence answered. Iris rose. There it is. I will not apologize for keeping you where I can protect you. Then don't pretend this is generosity. I never claimed to be generous. No, the news did. The powerful mafia boss saving the helpless fat florist. His face changed sharply. Do not call yourself that, because a coward behind a screen did. I've heard what men think of my body my entire life. I don't need you erasing it. I erased it because strangers were discussing you as if you were an object placed beside my name for their entertainment. And you objected to someone else treating me like property. The truth appeared in his eyes before he spoke. Yes. Heat moved beneath her skin, dangerous and unwanted. He stopped an arm's length away. I do not know how to want something without protecting it. I'm not something. No. His gaze moved over her face with unbearable concentration. You are not. For one reckless second, she thought he might kiss her. Then Luca entered carrying a tablet. The cameras were accessed 6 times using Iris's credentials, Luca said. He turned the tablet toward them. A recovered image showed Iris entering the office, with a man in Julian's security insignia reflected behind her. I know him, Iris said. He inspected the fire system. He called himself Caleb. Someone had planted evidence. Iris saw the old habit in Julian's face. Trust no one completely. You think I helped them? I think Anton survives by turning loyalty into a weapon. I do not believe you knew who that man was. But you think I'm hiding something. Are you? Her hesitation was brief, but he saw it. What aren't you telling me? I found a brass key after my mother died. It had an iris engraved on it. Where is it? In a safe deposit box. His restraint cracked. Which bank? No. That key may open the ledger. It belongs to my mother. Your mother died because of what she knew. And yours died because men like you believed information belonged to whoever could take it. A voice answered from the doorway. Anton doesn't need to take it from you. He needs Saint to lead him there. Martin Hale stood with a gun pressed to Luca's ribs. Behind him was the man from the photograph, still wearing Julian's insignia. Caleb. 4 of Julian's men had been drugged. 2 were locked in a service tunnel. Martin's hand shook. Caleb's did not. Tell us the bank, Caleb said, aiming at Iris. Julian went utterly still. There it was. The weakness Anton had been trying to create. Her. Iris gave them the bank. Caleb forced her toward the loading corridor, while Martin kept his gun on Julian. A black van waited outside. At the door, Iris drove her heel onto Caleb's foot and yanked the emergency fire lever. Steel shutters crashed down across the loading bay, trapping the van outside. Caleb struck her across the face. Before she hit the floor, Julian was there. Julian crossed the corridor, knocked away the gun, and drove Caleb into the wall. His hand closed around Caleb's throat. Martin raised his weapon. Luca swept his legs out from under him. The gun fired into the ceiling. Iris shouted Julian's name. He turned. That interruption saved Caleb's life. Julian released him and went straight to Iris. His hands framed her face without touching the bruise beneath her eye. Look at me. I'm fine. You are not. Neither are you. His control was gone. I thought he was going to take you. He didn't. The way he said her name sounded like confession, like dependence, like a man discovering one loss he could not survive. She set her bandaged hand against his chest. His heart was no longer steady. He lowered his forehead to hers. Then he kissed her. Fear, anger, and hunger broke through at once. Then Julian stopped and pulled away. I should not have done that. Because you don't want to? His eyes darkened. That is not the problem. I will not use your fear to make you accept me. The answer reached beneath her defenses. Iris caught his shirt and pulled him back. This time she kissed him by choice. When they separated, the danger remained. So did the trust. Fragile, incomplete, real. The brass key opened a second compartment inside the iron box. Under guard, Iris retrieved the key. It opened a false bottom containing microfilm, letters, and an unfiled deed transferring the market to the Evelyn Garden Foundation. The witness signature belonged to Grace Delaney. One letter was addressed to Iris. Grace wrote that Evelyn used the market to hide women and children escaping violent men. Vendors and drivers moved them unnoticed, while the ledger named allies and enemies. After Evelyn's murder, Grace escaped with infant Iris, the key, and half the records. She changed her name because an ordinary life was the safest gift she could offer. The final lines blurred through Iris's tears. Grace had hidden the truth because she knew Iris would run toward anyone who needed help, even through fire. Courage, she wrote, could be inherited. Julian knelt in front of Iris without touching her. She knew me, Iris whispered. Yes, she knew what I would do. What will you do? Through the steel-covered wall came the sound of workers and frightened vendors waiting to learn whether their market still had a future. I'm filing the deed. Julian's expression hardened. If you file it now, Anton will attack the foundation office or the courthouse. Then we file it publicly. You become the face of the trust. I already became the face of your scandal. This time I choose it. I can evacuate the tenants and turn the market into a controlled exchange. Anton will come for the microfilm. We end it here. And afterward, the market remains protected. Under your ownership, another powerful saint deciding who deserves safety. I am not Anton. Then prove it. File the deed. Put every tenant on the board. No saint control, no private exchange point, no weapons cache. A real sanctuary. His gaze moved over the shop where his mother once arranged roses. This property is worth $40 million. I know. You are asking me to surrender it. I'm asking whether you bought it to save people or to own the place where they were saved. Silence stretched between them. At last, Julian said, "If I do this, Anton will know the ledger is here. He already knows. He will bring everyone he has left. Then make sure the world is watching." He studied her with something close to awe. "You continue choosing truth when safety is available. My mother warned you. It is becoming an obsession. That sounds unhealthy. It is. I think about you when I should be thinking about men trying to kill me. You don't get to turn obsession into ownership. No. And you don't make decisions for me. I am learning. Slowly. I have had poor teachers." She touched the scar through his eyebrow. His eyes closed for half a second. "File the deed," he said. "You're certain?" "No. I am certain only that I would rather lose the building than become the reason you stop believing me." The deed was filed at 342. I-4, the city knew Julian had surrendered the market to a tenant-controlled trust. Federal attorneys secured the microfilm. At 6, a white funeral wreath appeared outside Monroe Floral. A single black iris sat at its center. The card beneath it read, "Midnight." Beneath the glass, "Come alone, Julian, or the florist dies first." Julian tore it in half. "He wants you angry," Iris said. "He has succeeded." Grace's letter mapped a freight passage from the cellar to an abandoned station. Anton was already beneath the sanctuary. At 11:56, Iris entered the tunnel beside Julian, carrying the reconstructed bouquet. Luca's team used another entrance. Federal officers waited nearby, unaware Anton was below the market. The passage smelled of rust and river water. Trains shook dust from soot-covered mosaics. "Stay behind me," Julian said. "I can agree to that. Follow every instruction. I can consider that. Iris." She met his gaze. "Do you trust me?" "Yes." "Then stop confusing trust with obedience." His hand settled at her waist. "If anything happens to you, you'll burn Philadelphia? Parts of it." "I can call a rideshare," Grace said. Roman's expression did not change. He bent and kissed her forehead. It was more intimate than the desperate kiss in the corridor, because it carried a promise neither of them spoke. They reached an abandoned platform beneath a vaulted glass ceiling. Rainwater streamed over the panes. Anton Saint waited with a black cane and 12 armed men. Martin knelt bound near the tracks, with Caleb behind him. Anton smiled. "My nephew." Julian moved in front of Iris. "You look disappointing for a dead man." "And you look distracted for a king." Anton looked at Iris. "So this is the florist, not beauty then." Julian stepped forward. Every weapon on the platform lifted. Iris touched his arm. "Don't." Anton noticed. "Extraordinary. Men have spent years trying to control your temper. She does it with one hand." "You asked for the key," Julian said. "I asked for what Evelyn hid." Iris raised the bouquet. "My mother saved people from you." "Your mother was a frightened clerk who misunderstood power. She understood it well enough to escape." Anton's smile thinned. Julian said, "Release Hale. You wish to save the man who evicted her?" "I wish to remove civilians before I kill you." Martin gave a bitter laugh. "I'm not a civilian." "No," Anton said. "You are an expense." Caleb fired. The bullet struck Martin's shoulder. At the same instant, the lights went out. Gunfire split the darkness. Luca's team attacked from the rear tunnel. A train roared overhead, swallowing the shots. Julian shielded Iris behind a stone column, then moved toward Martin with brutal precision. Caleb appeared at Iris's right. She struck Caleb with the thorned bouquet, drove a flower stand into his knee, and ran for the electrical panel on Grace's map. A shot shattered the glass above her. Rain poured through. She pulled the emergency lever. The station's original greenhouse irrigation pipes came alive. Water blasted across the platform. Caleb slipped. Weapons skidded over wet tile. The bouquet came apart in Iris's hands, flowers spreading across the floor in the exact pattern she had rebuilt. 13 hellebores, 8 tulips, 21 anemones. Above them, the station clock flickered. Iris finally understood. Julian, the numbers are train intervals. Anton planned the gunfire around the noise. The next train would pass in 13 seconds. Anton raised his weapon from behind a column and aimed at Julian. Iris ran. She knocked Julian aside as Anton fired. Julian caught her, returned fire, and shot the gun from Anton's hand. Luca's men controlled the far end of the platform. Federal sirens rose in the distance. Anton looked toward the tunnel. Iris stepped between him and the exit. Julian seized her waist. "What are you doing?" "Choosing truth." Anton laughed. "You think your mother's courage makes you untouchable?" "No." Iris looked toward the restored security cameras. Red lights glowed above the platform. "But your confession is being transmitted to every federal officer outside." Anton went still. The system had streamed from the moment he admitted ordering the attacks. Julian had not come alone. He had come with witnesses. Anton looked at his nephew. "You let her turn our family into evidence." Julian's arm tightened around Iris. She turned it into something better. Anton drew a narrow knife from his cane and lunged. Julian pushed Iris back and met Anton beneath the broken roof. He disarmed him and drove him down beside the tracks. The knife lay within reach. Anton smiled through blood. "Do it. Become what she already fears." Julian picked up the blade. Every part of him wanted the ending violence promised. A clean death, a final act of control. Iris stepped closer. "Your mother built doors. He only knows how to build graves." Julian stared down at Anton. Then he threw the knife into the darkness. Federal officers flooded the platform moments later. Anton was arrested beneath the market. Martin survived and testified. Caleb was captured, the ledger secured, and the protected names sealed. Julian walked out beneath the elevated tracks, with blood on his shirt, rain on his face, and Iris's hand locked in his. He let the world see what he could not bear to lose. Franklin Glass Market reopened 4 months later. The shattered panels had been replaced with restored glass. The iron framework was cleaned, but not polished. Iris insisted the building should keep enough of its scars to remember what it had survived. The Evelyn Garden Foundation owned the property, with every vendor on its board. The apartments became temporary housing, the old office a legal clinic, and the tunnel a secured evacuation route. Julian retained no ownership, no private office, and no controlling vote. He paid for the restoration anyway. Monroe Floral reopened in the same corner. The sign was new. The old work table remained. On reopening morning, Iris arranged 12 white roses beneath the glass roof. Her deep green dress followed curves she no longer tried to hide. "You opened that one too far." Julian stood at the entrance in a charcoal suit, holding a small wooden planter. The city still feared him, and his world had not become clean because he loved her. Julian had not become soft. He had become honest about where his hardness ended. With her. Iris looked at the roses. "They're exactly right. The outer petals will fall before evening. Then visit your mother before evening." "I already did." She noticed soil beneath his fingernails. "What is that?" He placed the planter on her table. A small green shoot emerged from the dark soil. "A peony. It won't bloom indoors. It will be moved to the roof garden. It may not flower until spring. I can wait. That may be the first patient thing you've ever said." He came around the table. "I waited 4 years to enter your shop. You watched photographs of me." Quality control photographs. That defense gets worse every time you use it. It was never convincing. She smiled. His attention settled on her mouth, and the crowded market seemed to recede. What color is the peony? She asked. Red. Honor, prosperity, passionate love. Did you research that? I have access to a florist. An expensive one. I own no part of her business. Good answer. He touched her waist and waited until she leaned closer before drawing her against him. The gesture remained possessive, but now it contained a question. She answered by resting her hands on his chest. What did your mother's white roses mean? Reverence. Sometimes secrecy. And what do you send her now? 11? Why 11? He removed a single white rose from inside his coat. Because the 12th belongs here. Iris accepted it. No ribbon, no card, no code, just a flower. Julian Saint giving something without conditions, she said. Philadelphia may never recover. His thumb traced the side of her waist. There is one condition. I knew it. When you decide you no longer want me here, you tell me yourself. She looked at the man who had frightened, protected, doubted, and trusted her, then surrendered part of his empire rather than own her sanctuary. And what happens if I never tell you to leave? His restraint slipped enough for her to see the devotion beneath it. Then I stay. A train passed as sunlight scattered gold across the restored market. Iris rose onto her toes and kissed him. Around them, the market continued breathing. Not a kingdom. Not an exchange point, not a monument to Julian Saint's power. A sanctuary built from two mothers' courage and one dangerous man's open hand. Months later, the first red peony opened on the roof. Julian wrapped his coat around Iris beneath the city lights. No funeral flowers, she whispered. Never again. Then what is this one for? Julian looked at the bloom, then at the woman who had taught him devotion was not possession. Everything that survived. Below them, Franklin Glass Market shone beneath the elevated tracks like a lantern no darkness could extinguish. The most powerful thing Julian had ever bought was the building. The most powerful thing he had ever done was give it away. But the most dangerous thing he had ever chosen was love. An empire could be rebuilt. A reputation could be repaired. Enemies could be defeated. Iris Monroe was the one thing he could never replace. So he held her carefully, and she stayed because she wanted to.